Hey everybody, this is Bill MacDonald, the Reading and Writing Doctor. Happy July 4th, 2000, what are 2022. July 4, 2022. I am sharing this a day early. What I wanted to tell you was that I've noticed that every year the reading passages that our kids have to endure for our state tests seem to get more and more boring and be less and less engaging. I found that to be seriously too, especially last year. I can't remember if it was the 5th or the 6th grade, but when I was reading the two paired passages that were both informational about the space shuttle and about some spiraling staircase that someone had made, I was bored out of my mind. And I thought, how in the world are we going to make kids want to be there and learn with us so that they will be ready to handle the levels of rigor that are going to come at them at the end of the year if that's when you test. What I want to share today, and I'm going to call this lesson Strategies That Stick in 600 seconds or less. So once I start my timer for the lesson, 600 seconds, for those of you who are not math teachers, is 10 minutes. I'm going to limit the lesson about a specific topic, some idea that I'll share about that topic, to 600 seconds or less. And so I want you to think about these words. If I can't relate to the student, if I can't connect with them on an emotional and mental level, use this hand so I can go in order, I won't be able to build relationships with them, which will result in me having them demonstrate either physically, emotionally, or verbally that they don't care how relevant that content is. So relating, building relationships, connections, so that something is relevant to them, so that when something that's very rigorous is presented to them, if they can't relate to the content, hopefully, because that foundation was set by you by relating to them in lots of other ways, whatever skill, Superman has an S on his shirt, and today it's going to be skill, singular. I got skill, and it's multiplying because I just want to focus on relating to the students. How can I teach that skill in a way that they can relate to, which results in me building relationships with them, connecting emotionally and mentally so that they will see that I'm sharing things with them in a way that's relevant so that when they get to rigor, whether it's boring as all get out or not, because of that foundation of relating, relationships, and relevance, they'll be able to go to the land of rigor for me if it's not for the passage being relevant and relatable. So here's the cool thing about that: relating, relevance, relationships, rigor. Those are in alphabetical order. If you don't make connections to the kids with your lessons in ways that they can make things personal, you're going to lose them. In a traditional classroom, about every 5 minutes, one student stops listening. They're probably still hearing you, comma, but there they are not listening anymore, period. So I'm going to talk about the results of lesson 10 from my CREST training, where we were talking about all of the different punctuation rules. And one simple one is just the date. When your students turn in an assignment to you, comma, they should be putting their name, date, school, teacher, title, and in some cases, even practicing the city, comma, state, so that they're practicing capitalization and punctuation at the same time. So I'm going to show you how to relate to your students in 10 minutes, and this will be called strategies that stick in 600 seconds or less. So once my timer goes off, I'm going to wrap it up as quickly as possible so that I stick to the 10-minute time limit that I'm setting for myself so that you can not get lost. Why? Because I said with every student in a typical classroom, one student stops listening every 5 minutes. And if you don't connect to your students visually, verbally, auditorily, and or kinesthetically, then it's possible that you're going to lose them even faster. So relate to your students with your lessons. I'd rather get the kids to retain something that I teach them for a lifetime because of the way I made it relatable to them and relevant than teach a million skills that they can't even remember until the next time they walk in my classroom door. So I'm going to start my timer. 10-minute warning. When you hear that go off, I have to wrap up the lesson. So here's what I made so I can stay focused. I call it relating. So here's comma in a series, one of our rules. So I'm going to circle all of these commas in a series because it's part of my rules that I'm learning. with my CREST Online training people. Relating, comma, relevance. You can put a comma there. That's that Oxford comma. Relating, relationships and relevance before rigor in speaking, comma, reading, comma, and writing. So before I ask my students to let down their guard and share something to do with them, I feel like I, as a teacher, need to set an example. If I'm going to be the head of the class and help them relate to me and relate to each other, then I've got to set an example. So I have put some dates here. And as you see, we have speaking first. Many students cannot read to save their life. They can't write. So you're going to have to sometimes teach reading and writing skills while your students are talking. So the rule that we're going to focus on today is give me the month, a date, the number, and separate it from the year with a comma. So I've written several dates that stand out in my mind, and there they are. So I'm going to clear my drawings so that I can get all of my dates visible. And so what I'm going to do on my dates is practice verbalizing the capitalization, because I was telling the teachers you would want to teach in most cases capitalization before punctuation, because too many punctuation rules require a whole sentence. So let's talk about our first one. Capital April, comma, 17th, sorry, capital April 17th, comma, 1982. When on April 17th, comma, 1982, comma, I was in a horrible car accident when my car flipped over after I tried to take it over 100 miles an hour with one of my best friend's Contreras. Neither one of us had our seatbelts on, comma. So when the car flipped over, I realized at the next day after we could see it that the ceiling crashed down to the dashboard, and I began to realize that that day, if I would have had my seatbelt on, or if my friend did either, both of us would have died on April 17th, comma, 1982. So to this day, I don't like wearing seatbelts. I do it because that's the law, and I don't like giving police officers money. So I just have a phobia sometimes about that situation. 9 years later, when I was 28 years old, on capital December 30th, 1991, I married my wife, Valerie Denise MacDonald, period. So we just passed our 30th year. It seems like it hasn't been that long, but we made it somehow. We have our struggles, comma, but we are still doing okay. On January the 11th, comma, 1992, on my brother's birthday, I signed my first contract to be a teacher in Mission ISD. I was so shy that I didn't like talking to people, but I didn't mind talking to a class. A couple years later, March 10th, capital March 10th, comma, 1994. Two special events happened. At 3:09, 3:09 P period M period, William Zachary MacDonald was born. 11 minutes later at 3:20 P period M period, Kanea Nicole MacDonald was born, are twins. Going forward, several years, we decided to wait a little while. On Halloween, on October 31st, comma, 2001 at 9:P period M period AM, Miranda Charisse MacDonald was born. And it's interesting that she was born on Halloween and she has orange hair, so I call her Pumpkin. On November, oh, I got the date wrong. November 16th, capital November 16th. I got the rule correct, but I just wrote the wrong date. My son's gonna get upset with me. November 16th, comma, at 12, colon. So what I need to do there, if I don't have my punctuation, why am I circling in yellow? Because some punctuation marks, you're slowing down, and some punctuation marks at the end, you're stopping the sentence. That was Israel Antonio. On November the 5th, comma, 1995, I was asked, well, I thought I was going to be asked to do a prayer for our communion in front of 1,000 people. And if I had to talk back then to more than 2 or 3 people at a time, I would get embarrassed, I would turn red, I would freak out. But something happened, and on May 31st, comma, 2004, I stopped after 12 years of teaching and began talking to teachers across Texas and the United States about reading, comma, writing, comma, and math, as well as motivation managing students. And now I can talk to 100 or 1,000 people without batting an eye. It's just so interesting, the transition that happened in my life. Now, I have a minute left, barely, so I'm going to make sure you see one of our teachers in our CREST online training. She shared a special date, and her name is Vicki Russell, the CREST online participant. And I'm going to do it very quickly so I don't lose the timer. She said, since I was at the end of my teaching career, comma, I had moved to a larger district that paid much more to raise my retirement period. Sadly, comma, that one move changed my life forever and affected not only my life, comma, but the lives of 20 students, period. On October 21st, comma, 2016, comma, I was benchmarking my 10th graders, period. One student had been absent for a week, so I will stop as promised. So he told me he would be on his phone, quote unquote, while the class worked. And because of the content of what she shared with me about that day, capital October 21st, comma, 2016, comma, it's too heartbreaking as it says there, and discouraging for me and for you as well to hear or see this story. We're living in some pretty bad times, but It was so emotional for her. She actually remembered the date. So what I'm going to ask you to do as we depart today, I want you to relate to a specific date. If you send me in a post in the comments section, one or two sentences, I just want to know a specific month, date, as in the number, separated by a comma and a year. What specific date, positive or negative, was there an event that transpired in your life that you can relate to? Because I want to teach you the rule about separating the date from the year, but make it relevant to you so that I can connect with you and get to know you a little bit about things that are important to you. Because I don't want to use worksheets. I want to use sheets that work the students' actual lives in a way that they can relate to. So if you send me or write me a sentence about when your month, date, and year was, and why, when, and why it was special to you in just one or two sentences, I don't need a novel. I'm going to send you a digital copy of my capitalization and punctuation rules back to back so you can make a copy for your students, but that's all you got to do. And I want you to make sure you're careful. Don't use the same examples of anyone else above you in the comment section so we can have enough variety. It can be a really exciting memory, event, or experience. It can be a tragic one, but just be careful. Think about your audience. There's going to be possibly younger people that are easily influenced that will see this uh, content because Facebook is something that a lot of people can see. I have it. I'm going to just keep it in the Facebook group, the ELAR and writing prescription, not on my wall, so that you can get a little bit more relevant where I can connect with you. But if you would like I mentioned, a free digital copy of the capitalization and punctuation rules that you can print out for your students, just do that simple thing. Write to me in a sentence a special when, month, date, and year, and why that date was important to you. Do not forget the comma. I don't really care about any other punctuation marks. I just want to make sure I'm testing your ability. And if you've already taught capitalization, I will test the month because we talked about that in our last lesson, but I won't test you on anything except your month, your day, separated by your year with a comma. So happy thinking. Come up with something so that you, whether you're in the CREST online trainings or not, can have this free, cool digital tool. Share it with your teacher friends who are teachers of reading, because you're all going to get to editing and to revising passages. And so the capitalization and punctuation are going to be a big part of editing. So once again, happy July 4th, comma, 2022, exclamation, capital. I hope all of you have an amazing 4th of capital 4th, if I spelled the words, 4th of capital July holiday, exclamation. Take care, exclamation.